together were indeed valuable. And so I am glad to be with you again today in this virtual setting. And I thank all of the leadership that is here with us on this day. I think it's the same. We are the same cast of characters that joined you back in June. And so we won't go, except Rita Sperry is new to us because she's serving in the interim role while Melissa Gerald is out. But you know the rest of us. And so we are here to discuss with you. We are here to share what information we do have. So thank you for joining. I know that this is a busy time. And as I said yesterday when I met with the faculty who were in the teaching workshop, the pandemic pedagogy workshop, you are managing your own thoughts and emotions while also trying to gear up for the fall. And that's not just in terms of campus life, but that's also in terms of your personal life. Let me first say that where we are today may not be where we are 2 weeks from now, 2 months from now, but what we have to share is really where we are today and how we are moving forward given what we know today. I know that as many of you have either already been preparing for your classes or you're beginning to do that as the summer session winds down. This is a lot of work. And I think everyone you have spoken to will tell you that engaging in work life during COVID is not easy. It is challenging and it can be exhausting. So I do hope you are taking care of yourself, that you are finding time to stretch, to get out of your chairs, to take walks. So please continue to take care of yourself. So with that, I do have a PowerPoint presentation, and that's just so that you have some information before you. You don't have to take screenshots or take pics from your camera of these slides. They will be available on the Academic Affairs website, and I may be moving through some of them quickly. After we go through this, we will be opening up for discussion, but you, as always, you can use the chat function. So if I can, I guess I should have started here, right?
Go ahead and use the question and answer box. When you submit a question, one of the panelists are able to respond directly to that question while the presentation is going. And then at the end, based on the types of questions that have been submitted, I'll moderate and ask the entire panel some of the questions that were repeated that might need further clarification.
All right. We are ready. All right. So just in terms of, and some of this you will have heard before, and so I will be moving through some of this quickly. One is that the university does have a face coverings requirement, so everyone is required to wear face covering when 2 or more people are sharing common spaces. We are asking every faculty, staff, and student member to do a morning self-screening. So please check yourself, encourage your students, others you encounter to check themselves for whether they have a cough, whether they have a sore throat, whether they may be running a fever, right? And we do this not for ourselves, but for others. If we are not well, we should not come to campus, right? And I know there is concern by many about how will that be regarded. You just need to notify people. If you are unwell, we strongly urge you to stay home and just communicate that and let your supervisor know. We also have plenty of campus signage, and we are increasing campus signage every day. In terms of face coverings are optional, of course, when faculty and staff are in single occupancy offices without visitors, but face coverings should be worn during all in-person meetings. Faculty may opt to wear a face shield instead of a face covering, instead of a cloth face mask, while teaching, as long as they are maintaining 6 feet of social distance from others. In certain learning environments, face coverings may be removed temporarily as long as there is physical or social distancing in place. If you need to teach how to, for those people who learn to play an instrument, right? You need to form your lips a particular way. You may need to take off your cloth covering to show exactly what that looks like. It may also be necessary in some language learning classes. But if you do remove your face covering for a brief demonstration, please put it back on as quickly as possible. We do have individuals that for disability reasons may be working with the Office of Disability Services for accommodations. The university is receiving 1,500 test kits from the system monthly. And so we do have a testing and contact tracing protocol in place. And we also have a COVID-19 reporting portal. And so we will be offering testing on campus for faculty, staff, and students. If you go to the Fall 2020 Plans website, university website, you will see where you can get the link to request a testing appointment. And we will not test everybody. You have to demonstrate that you are symptomatic and in order to be tested. We do have some students that are on a priority list because of the activities they engage in. They will also be, there'll be a regular schedule for them to receive testing. If I'll keep moving, I'll come back. So we do have a contact tracing process. I would ask that you please allow this process to work. I know sometimes we hear from our neighbor, in terms of our work neighbor, that they may have tested positive or they know of someone that has tested positive. I'm asking you to please allow the process to work. Contact tracing means that when we have been notified either from the testing agency or through the portal where people are reporting that they have have tested positive. There's a contact tracing process in place where people will be notified about someone that they may have come into contact with. I say all of this because confidentiality is important. We want to protect people's confidentiality and make sure that we are sharing appropriate and accurate information. If you encounter students or others that are saying they're feeling symptomatic and have positive, may have a positive test result, encourage them to go to the portal and report. You may also report positive cases online through the TAMU-CC reporting form or the portal, which is listed at the bottom. And again, there is a contact tracing process in place that will notify close contacts of someone that has tested positive for COVID-19. A close contact, right? A close contact is someone that has been within 6 feet of the affected person, of the person that has tested positive. So been within 6 feet of that person for more than 15 minutes. It's not a close contact of a close contact. So please allow the process to work. For faculty, and I shared this yesterday, I know sometimes faculty members, we're in our classes and we get a student who may text us their test results. I again would ask you to allow the process to work, but here is an email statement that you may share. And it simply says, I was notified that a student in our class has been diagnosed, right? If you were adhering to the CDC guidelines, right? Because in our classes, we have allowed for appropriate physical distancing, as I have been told. Physical distancing, we're also wearing face coverings. Our classes will continue, right? So if there is a case, right, if there's a small lab section or something like that, that where two people were working closely together and there was not the appropriate social distancing, or there was more than 15 minutes of contact within that six feet, they will be notified. Faculty, staff, if you feel ill, as I said before, please contact your supervisor so that we can work out coverage of your responsibilities, faculty and staff. A faculty or staff member that is sick can use the federal emergency sick leave if a physician or governmental agency required quarantine. If you have any questions about these kinds of things, please contact Human Resources, and there is a website there. I will say that we did stand up a scheduling task force. 30 members across the campus represented, 30 members representing the campus as a whole met from May 13th through July 1st. And the goal was to take the spring schedule as it was and transform it for our current reality, right? And so that July 1st, we went live. July 1st, we went live with the new schedule and informed students at that time we would not be making any additional changes to the schedule. So the charge to the scheduling task force was mainly to reduce campus and classroom density, right? So we knew that we needed to reduce the foot traffic on campus and allow for appropriate social distancing in classrooms. And so the registrar's office went through the process of reducing classroom capacities. I identified modality targets, meaning that the goal was that 25% of our courses be face-to-face, 50% of our courses be blended, and 25% of our courses be completely online, right? And as you know, that blended category is everything from 25% to 84%, right? Online, right? 25 to 84% online. So that blended category was targeted to be the largest or the most significant modality, but that was what was set out before the scheduling task force. And course changes, right? The modality change on courses was to be determined by the course content. Is the content of that course something that could be learned online or in a hybrid format? We have some courses where that content can only be taught in a face-to-face method, right? So it was course content. It was also student learning needs. How easily would it be for students to learn that course content in a different modality than what was scheduled? And undergraduate level, we did have a preference, and you'll see many universities across the US did this, where we had a preference to have our first year students on campus as a way to help them make that adjustment. So as the associate deans were then tasked with working with departments and faculty to identify those course modality changes by July 1st. So in terms of our classroom configuration, the average classroom capacity is now between 30 and 40%. There are hand sanitizer and disinfectant sprays available around campus. There are stations where you can actually, when you go in buildings, you'll see a row of towels with a hand sanitizer and a waste basket. Everybody has access to their individual disinfectant bottle. So these are sort of the safety protocols we have put in place. There is also plexiglass installed in large and medium-sized lecture halls. Now, all of this, if you have a classroom that is controlled by your college, we are still working on getting those protocols in place. And so that is what we're working through. But for all of, we've managed this for the centrally supported classrooms. Faculty are required to record attendance for all in-person class sessions and establish a seating chart. The registrar's office, again, has come through and developed seating charts for our classrooms, and they'll be working over the next two to 3 days to make those seating charts available so that faculty can go in, see sort of the seating chart that is available for their assigned classroom, and begin assigning seats to students. Students do need to sit in the same seat every class period, and this is very important for our contact tracing. as we know, there will be absences. There'll be both faculty staff absences and student absences, right? In terms of students, we need to make some accommodation for them. Again, we do not want faculty, staff, or students on campus if they are not feeling well. We need people to take care of themselves, and we need people to take care of themselves for others. This is also available, and so I'm not going to spend there. There are draft syllabus statements for attendance as well as class recordings, and you can go to the Academic Affairs website to access these. The Center for Faculty Excellence also has these slides. I think I've heard quite a bit of questions about the distance education fees, and just to clear up any confusion, we have not increased distance education fees. If a class was originally face-to-face, and as of July 1st, it was forced to move to blended or online, there are no additional distance ed fees. The only courses that have distance ed fees are those that were originally scheduled as blended or online. So when you hear that question from students, or you hear other people sharing incorrect information, I would appreciate if you'd clear that up. In terms of academic services, office hours, regardless of your position, you can hold those office hours by phone, by WebEx, or in person. You can do it in person, provided that you are following the health and social distancing protocols. Please keep in mind that some students may request an in-person visit. They may need sort of that one-on-one direct time. If your office does not allow for appropriate social distancing, please work with your supervisor to secure a larger space for the meeting. Academic advisors are continuing to provide assistance to students, and again, face-to-face, WebEx, phone, or email. We will have academic support for students. The Writing Center, tutoring, and supplemental instruction will be available face-to-face and online. And that's largely determined by what students need, right? What students need. And we'll be following all of the social distancing and safety protocols. The campus library I think the campus library is always open, right? But there is some reduction in terms of building hours, meaning that, and Kate can correct me, but the building Monday through Thursday will close at 11 p.m. instead of 1:30 a.m. They did a great job of working with SGA to get that approved. Just some minor modification hours, but the services are always available. I'm waiting for the slide to catch up with me. Maybe it won't. Oh, there it is. All right. So just so you know, students will still have access, all of us will have access to dining services. They have taken out sort of the indoor seating in the UC as a way to reduce the congregating is the best word, right? So all dining locations will be open. Seating will be not allowed in the UC. On the back patio, seating is still available. It's outside with social distancing. Bus services are continuing to run, and of course the bookstore. So it's important that you keep in mind that we want to engage in social distancing in the bookstore. There's been quite a bit of conversation about what metrics the university what metrics are being used to monitor sort of our level of operation. And here's just a partial list here. And I will say that it's not any one of these indicators, not any one metric that will determine sort of what our level of operation is. But we're New Essex County COVID-19 case growth trend, both the daily moving average, the weekly average, the ability of us to do testing on campus, including the number of positive cases that we get on a weekly basis. And we're monitoring, the TAMU-CC weekly COVID-19 cases. employees on and off campus, students on and off campus. Can we continue to offer operations? Can we continue to operate at the current level, or do we need to make adjustments up or down? We can scale up or scale back by using these metrics. And so there's also the supply of PPE, the supply, the availability of sanitizing and disinfection supplies, and the ability of our housing operations to allow students to isolate in specific rooms. I've worn out my WebEx this summer. That might be the last slide. Deshauna, can you tell me if that's the last? There's no, there are more. Hold on. This happened to me yesterday as well. I'm just having loads of fun with this technology. Patience. So lessons in patience and persistence, right? Just some important dates. Move in August for students who will reside in campus housing, August 14th through the 17th. The fall semester begins, classes begin on the 19th, as you know, and then final exams are scheduled December 1st through the 7th. I encourage you to look at the campus guides. I encourage you to read not only the faculty staff return to work guide, but also read the student return to campus guide. It's important for us to know what our students, the information that's available to students, and it's important for us to make sure that we are sharing accurate information with students. And in case you didn't know, you have some train tracks, right? So you have 2 train tracks that you must complete before returning to work. There are some resources available to you electronically. Deshauna went through the process of pulling out perhaps some of the more pertinent faculty affairs information about teaching or whatever. And so that's on the website. And so you can, sometimes if you're in a hurry, you can go to the academic affairs website and might find information more quickly. So I will stop there and we will engage in dialogue.
Okay, so one question that I'd like to go back to for some clarification, when you mentioned the face shields, can you explain? There was a concern about face shields not being as protective as face coverings while teaching. Can you explain the use of face shields on campus?
So I think that the use of a face shield, which is the plastic shield, right, can be used once again as long as as long as we are practicing 6 feet of physical distancing. So if you believe that while lecturing, it is easier to be understood, easier to be heard without having the cloth face covering, you may use the face shield only while lecturing.
Okay. The other question.
I'm using lecturing broadly because there's also other kinds of sort of classroom instruction that takes place that isn't lecturing, but yes.
Will shields or face coverings be mailed, or do faculty and staff need to pick them up?
So some colleges have already purchased face shields, and so you should connect with your supervisor in terms of getting a face shield. The university also has ordered face shields, And we will distribute those out to all of the academic affairs units. So once again, contact your supervisor if you would like a face shield. A face covering, I don't have one in my office, but this is not the one. But so a face covering, thank you, Ishana. A face covering along with the disinfectant bottle is available at the Sand Dollar office. You just have to take your Sand Dollar card. It is swiped. Thank you, Amy. And so that's why throughout the buildings, you'll find this sanitizing stations where there are rolls of paper towels. So you don't have to carry paper towels around. Somebody could have said, Clarenda, we can't see you. The whole panel. Panel, what good are you? I mean,
I thought you were saving your bandwidth.
So, I'm looking at the chat screen.
Okay, you have an excuse, Frank. I don't know about the rest of these folks, but anyway, so that you don't have to carry paper towels around with you, there will be paper towels throughout the buildings. In terms of refilling your disinfectant bottle, there will be refilling stations at what we will call welcome desk at the Dugan, and I do believe the library, Kate can correct me, and at the UC. So there are supposed to be refill stations. So use it up, go get some more, right? It is very important, as I said yesterday, for you to model positive protective behaviors. People will watch what you do. And so before you go into public space, whether that's your classroom or some other space, feel free to spray and wipe for yourself. Please spray and wipe and wear the face covering. And that's how we will move forward.
Another question that was posted in terms of instructional modalities, do fully online classes have to be ODELT certified? So for an instructor to have a fully online class, does ODELT have to certify that course?
Yes, the instructions provided back in the summer were that the instructions were that if a class was to move fully online, it did need to be ODELT certified, right? Not so much for blended, right? Even the blended up to 84%. But if it's fully online, it needs to be ODELT certified.
And can you talk a little bit more, when you mentioned the seating chart, you said it was for face-to-face classes. It is a requirement that all face-to-face classes use the seating chart?
No, so in classrooms where social distancing is not possible, right? So that may be a lab setting, that may be one of the large lecture halls where you have rows of students, although there is 6 feet of distance side to side, the plexiglass is being used in the large lecture rooms. You should do a seating chart in the large lecture rooms. But, generally, if you go into, and I've encouraged people to go into their classrooms early. I'm going to work with facilities so that beginning next Monday, classrooms are open. I encourage you to visit your space, whether that's your workspace or your classroom. Visit your space prior to Monday, the 17th, so you have some knowledge of how that space is arranged and what you may need, what additional equipment you need in that space. So the registrar's office, Christy Roberts, has done that work. And when you download those seating charts, I would just say, do it. Most of our classrooms are allowing for 6 feet of social distancing. Large lecture rooms are using the plexiglass for the rows. Better to do it and not have to worry about it.
What type of, so there's train tracks for employees, what type of training will be provided for students?
So there is. a student training. And it is going to be available in the I was going to say in the LMS, but in Blackboard, and it will be treated much like the lab safety training that students must complete. We have been the guidance we have been given is that the students do not complete that that return to what I don't even know what it's called. We're going to say student return to campus training. Then they will have their schedules dropped. They will be deregistered.
For classes that are designated face-to-face, when students submit requests to move their instruction online or be exempt from coming to class, how should faculty respond to that?
Ask the question again.
For classes that have been designated as face-to-face, if students begin emailing saying this class is face-to-face, I have a health concern, or I just don't want to attend, what is the guideline or parameters for faculty to respond to the student?
So I encourage faculty to look at the draft attendance statement that is available on the through the CFE or through the Academic Affairs website. You should have an attendance requirement, but you may need to offer flexibility if students are sick. If a student just says, I don't want to come to class, this semester is not any different than any other semester, right? Students can't just wake up in the morning and say, I don't feel like going to class today. So if students have, if a student says that he or she is sick, or if a student says he or she has a positive test, then that's where you offer that flexibility. So it is just not okay for students to disappear from in-person instruction for the entire semester. If that student has a concern, I would suggest that the student contact his or her academic advisor and perhaps find another class.
I'm browsing questions right now. So if any panelists want to speak.
Clarenda, I hope I'm not catching you off guard, but I'm noticing quite a few questions about ventilation, about like HVAC.
So I guess I should be looking at the Q&A, but so there are a couple things. Because we have reduced density in our buildings and in our classrooms, and we have had facilities check ventilation throughout the campus, currently that is not a concern. Now, if air conditioning goes down, right, we will need to make some adjustments. I mean, that's why I'm saying this is all very fluid, but currently based on the classroom occupancy, the building occupancy, we have sufficient ventilation.
Missy, I noticed you're getting a lot of questions in the Q&A. I didn't know if you wanted to address anything out loud that's getting asked quite a bit.
So sure, yeah, I've been trying to go through and catch all the questions that are in regards to anything that we can answer in the registrar's office. So been seeing a lot about where can you get the classroom diagrams. Christy is literally just finishing these up. We ended up finding out that no one on campus had any diagrams of classrooms. And so Christy has spent about a week working on every single classroom. And so she's finishing those up. She's got to do some more cleanup, and then we will find a central location where we can share these. We'll go ahead and send an email out where you all can go and obtain them. I think I've also in answering some questions about what was about the seating charts, about the diagrams, the COVID capacities. So people were asking also about, are there new COVID capacities with plexiglass installation? And well, yes, there are. We have shared all this information with our scheduling task force. And as Clarenda mentioned earlier today, the scheduling task force was comprised of the associate deans from each academic college. There was representation from academic affairs, enrollment management, student government association, faculty senate, IT, facility services, our scheduling team from the registrar's office. So we had in the library, we had a really big group. So we really took a look at the schedule. I know there was some questions on how did we decide which classes to move. Well, we really let the associate deans work with the chairs to figure all of those things out. But we do have new COVID-19 capacities. If we don't have them posted online, we'll make sure that we get those so that everyone can see what was represented in the presentation is correct. What we started out with after we went in with EHS, and just so you all know what our practice was, we actually went into the classroom with representatives from environmental health and safety, with Dr. Rita Sperry, with Dr. Darrell Benton, Christy Roberts, myself, and we measured. We had measuring tapes. We measured 6 feet of distance. We marked off where we thought students could sit, and we figured out by doing all of that how many students we could now have in a classroom. And in the majority of our classrooms, we had a diminished capacity of where, from 50 to 60%, and in some places more. So I do want to let y'all know that we were following CDC guidelines. We were walking around with EHS, and we're actually in the rooms doing these things.
Missy, can you, I don't know if you can answer this question right now, but do you know the auto drop date for students who fail to complete the return to campus training? Is there a process for that?
I am not quite sure about the entire process. I do know that is being worked on, but I have not heard yet of when the hard deadline will be to drop. And so those of y'all don't know, students are going to be required, just as we are in Train Track, to take these trainings. Students are going to be required to do so too before they come to campus. So I don't have all of that information. We'll get that. We will make sure that we have a solidified date before anything is done. And then of course that proper communication as well is sent out to all the students.
Another question was about the syllabi being available tomorrow.
Yeah, so that was a discussion, that had come up in our scheduling task force. I had talked to Clarenda about this. Clarenda had conversations as well with the deans, and it was truly our intention that we were going to allow ample enough time for students to get information about their courses that may have changed modalities. So they registered for a course back in late March, early April, and now there's a different modality to the course, and the course will be taught in a different manner. And so we wanted the students to have ample amount of time to figure out, to be able to read the syllabi, to figure out if they had any questions for their faculty, and for so their faculty and students could have that communication prior to school starting. I understand it seems very early, but we are literally now within 2 weeks where we're going to start our fall semester.
And if I can add just briefly to that, I think, and I had a conversation with Michelle Singh, and what she indicated to me was that although faculty had access to use sort of the email function in Blackboard, they didn't have any other functionality. So if faculty wanted to post announcements where they would say, I'm making this up, where they wanted to say, A through M, if your last name is A through M, then you come to class on Tuesday, and N through Z, you come to class on Thursday, then that could, with the Blackboard course shell being open, that could be posted as an announcement. I think as the email said that I sent out, you can turn that course off. You can choose not to make content available. It was really about helping faculty and students connect earlier so that students could order their lives in a way that would allow them to fully engage in the class.
Another question for advising or anyone, if students are wanting to be in fully online classes or move to an online class, but those classes are closed right now. They're full. Are there any plans to extend the enrollment number for online courses for the max seats?
So I will let Jarrell respond to sort of the advising side of that. Many of our classes, I received a report just yesterday. Many of our online sections of courses, they still have quite a bit of capacity. So perhaps we do have some courses where the online sections have no capacity, but there are several out there that have. I think if we, of course, tally the whole, we're only at about 40% capacity in our online courses. So to the extent that students have, maybe first or second year students, depending on their major, but that's always the case, they may be able to find online sections. At this time, we are not making schedule changes. We have published the schedule as final. We are trying to make sure that students know what's expected of them. And if we keep making schedule changes, it makes it difficult for them to plan. Jarrell, you want to talk about advising?
Yeah, I was going to also mention that one of the things with the syllabi being released, that some students may find that their course might be, recorded or wherever it may be. So I think sometimes a good place to start will be reaching out to that faculty member to see what options there are in that course. And then if that's not the case, working as best as possible to identify what online options are available for that student. And that's just kind of the reality, kind of where we're at this point.
So one of the questions is about student attendance in a blended course. If they're meeting 1 day a week, bi-weekly, and a student has a health concern, can that student be exempt from that face-to-face contact on that bi-weekly basis if the course is already in a blended format?
So I'm just trying to make sure I'm understanding, because I started reading the chat. That's the problem. So now I'm trying to multitask, which I've been told is not really multitasking, it's task switching. So I will stop task switching. So as I said, we in some ways, right? The attendance expectations for your courses, whatever those may be, should be the same this semester unless a student is ill, right? Is ill. So there may be times when you have to accommodate a student because the student is not feeling well or is tested positive for COVID-19. And in those situations, you would give them sort of that access. Otherwise, the expectation is that students are coming to class, just like we're all expected to come to campus to perform some of our duties. And while I'm talking about that, I know there are a lot of questions out there about the alternative work location forms. And when we at our high, according to our current class numbers, we have reduced sort of at our high peak period. So if you think about the middle of the day, Monday through Thursday, right? It's the middle of the day. We have reduced campus foot traffic by 1/3. And that's why I sent out to academic affairs that we need people here to serve the students, but we are not expecting 100%, right? We can reduce sort of the people who are here on campus down by about 1/3. But we have students on campus. We need to serve those students. Some of us, though, are in positions where it's not an option, where we do have to be here every day or whatever our scheduled time is, where there is flexibility and we can still perform the responsibilities remotely. Supervisors have the ability to make the call on that.
Can you talk a little bit about the equipment that will be in classrooms to allow for live lectures for those students that might need to be at home? So what is going to be available in the rooms so that faculty can teach in a room online if they're splitting their class?
I want to defer to Missy, so because she's probably been in those conversations more.
Sure, no problem. So what I understand from IT, and I have not spoken to IT, and it's been about a little over a week, so I don't know how many were ordered, but IT was ordering webcams and microphones, I think lapel microphones for many of the classrooms. We can definitely get a feedback from IT so that they can let us know how many were ordered, what rooms they'll be available in, and so we'll get all that information to you. I just need an update from IT.
If you are teaching in a classroom that is college supported, right? Meaning it's not centrally supported by the university, there are mobile meeting go bags. I think that's what it's called, right? And so you can arrange with IT to pick up an iPad with a mic, and that way you can engage. You can use the camera and the microphone in those classrooms where IT has not outfitted them already.
And I did get a message that the associate deans have the information about the technology that is available in the classrooms. I want to switch gears. So what about, are the disinfectant bottles going to have a label on what content is in each bottle? So what is the chemicals, what is actually in the disinfectant bottles? Are they going to be labeled?
So we could probably get that on new bottles. I mean, these are already ready to go with a label, and we can also make that information available on the website so that people know what's contained within. And I will share with facilities with the CFO that we would like additional information about ingredients. I can do that.
In terms of testing, what tests can we get clarity on the type of test that will be used for COVID-19 testing on this campus? Is anybody on the panel able to answer that question?
It looks like an email went out from the president's office a little earlier today that goes into that in pretty good depth. It went out at noon.
Yes, and I don't want to get it wrong. I do know that the president was sending an email detailing information about testing and tracing. So.
Clarenda, there are some questions about enforcement of the wearing of face masks and facial coverings.
So I'm going to make a general comment about both compliance with face coverings as well as encountering people who you may perceive to be unwell, right? So I think it's very important for us to approach people in what I would say is a posture. So if you encounter somebody that does not have a face covering, then you ask the question, did you know about the university's face covering requirement? Because we can't assume that everybody is reading. We can't assume that everybody has heard the information. And so you say, did you know, right? And then if they didn't know, right, then regardless, you direct them to, if they do not have one on hand, you can direct them to one of the university-owned vending machines where there are face coverings available. I also recently purchased individually wrapped face coverings. It's a pack of 50. I will order more, and I'm gladly to distribute to dean's offices. And that way, faculty, if you encountering someone, you might just want to pull out one, right? And say, here, it's a requirement. I mean, I think there are ways to engage, to make it non-confrontational, right, as much as possible. If someone comes to your class or your office and they appear unwell, you can ask them, are you feeling okay today? And then it's like, if it's an appointment, you can say, hey, if you're not feeling well, we can reschedule, or we can do this by phone. If the student comes to your class, you can reassure them that if they are not feeling well, that their absence today would not be counted against them. So I think it's just, I think sometimes we want to go automatically to the penalty when we can be talking about sort of the importance of taking care of yourself and doing and engaging in ways and helping people understand that it's not just about them, but it's also about the community. It's a long answer, Amy. I'm sorry.
Can you talk a little bit about when a student does show up but refuses to wear a face covering? What faculty and staff, what is the process they're supposed to follow?
If a student shows up and refuses to wear a face covering, then you inform the student that it is a requirement and that students are not allowed in the classroom or on campus, right, in public spaces without a face covering. And you ask the student to put on a mask or to leave. If the student is not willing to leave, then you can, right, call UPD, inform the student. If you don't leave, I will have to call UPD, and you will have to report this as a conduct issue. And there are consequences, right? There are for not adhering to university requirements.
Okay, this is a quick question while I'm browsing other questions. How do chairs get informed if classes are ODELT certified? So who provides that list?
So ODELT sends that list to somebody. I don't know if ODELT sends that list to the associate deans. But we can, I mean, I can check. I don't have a ready answer.
So some people are asking about the use of outdoor spaces. Yeah, and just want to hear if it's okay to have office hours outside, if it's okay to have class outside, and if they do have class outside, do they need to reserve that space with anyone before they do that? And Allison Frost had a great suggestion that perhaps we could even mark off spaces outside that could be used that are socially distanced.
So if you can tolerate, if you and your students can tolerate learning outside in August, might get a little better closer to October, but yes, clearly you can use outdoor spaces. I have spoken with the athletic director, John Palumbo, and he says if you have morning classes and you, for example, you want to use the bleachers that are around the baseball field, then you would contact athletics and you would reserve a time. I mean, that way, I mean, because there's established seating, right? Athletics has also said if you want to go all the way to the soccer stadium is available if you'd like to reserve that space. The patio on the back, at the back of the UC, although strongly discouraged staying away from that space during sort of 11 to 1 or whatever the meal times are, but you would call the UC just like you would reserve space in the UC for any other thing. You could call the UC and ask to reserve that space. We have not pursued putting up tents because it is very windy on this island, and so we would like to create shade, but it would be difficult for tents to survive on windy days. So we have not done that. but depending on the day, right? There are some days that are cooler or cloudier than others. Please go outside. Although I've been told, right, that depending on where you are on the campus, you may compete with some of the music instruction that is happening outside, but by all means, go outside. We are discussing marking off spaces specifically for instruction, and I'll have to check on where we are in terms of getting that done.
Clarenda, do you know, or anybody else here know how to reserve the Hector P. Garcia space?
I think that's through the UC.
Okay.
I was gonna say, are you talking about the plaza?
Uh-huh.
I think the outdoor spaces go through Cat Painter in the UC.
Okay.
And there is on the interactive map, it has been updated by IT to provide wireless locations. So you're able to look at the interactive campus map and see the areas that have Wi-Fi in outdoor spaces. Plexiglass in offices, so not classroom spaces, but in desks or offices, will plexiglass be available or installed at the request of staff who would like to have something in front of them?
So that needs to come through your supervisor. So that is being done in sort of what is considered high traffic areas. So for example, in the round building, they are installing plexiglass. Otherwise, I mean, what's being encouraged is meeting with students in more open spaces or larger rooms. If you believe you have an office where you see quite a bit of student traffic, please talk with your supervisor and we will work to get you some plexiglass in place.
I do want to provide an update on the list of ODELT certified classes. That list is not sent out. It's made available at the request of the departments, but you can also see those courses in Banner as well. So I did want to provide that quick update that I got. Dr. Radowski, would you like to speak about library staff?
Yeah, sure. So there was a question submitted ahead of the panel, and it's popped back up in the chat versus the Q&A, or I lost it in the Q&A. There's a lot of Q&A about the library being required to be staffed at 75%. And I just want to clear that up right away because that seems like perhaps some miscommunication has happened. That was never, there was never a goal to be staffed at all times at 75%. There is a goal to have thin capacity, and there is a goal to work in teams so that we have rotations in the building. There was a shared academic affairs goal of ensuring a presence on campus at perhaps a level of 66 to 75%, with the understanding that that was going to be balanced differently for different areas of academic affairs. And in meeting with department heads in the library, the request was to meet with their departments and come up with a team schedule that perhaps would allow us to be at a 50% capacity of employees if we could. My dog is starting to growl, I'm sorry. So that hopefully that will clear that up. I apologize. I'm thinking as information communicated between 2 or 3 people, perhaps some of the message was not communicated completely accurately. So we will make sure we get that figured out internally.
I did see a question about cleaning of buildings. So in the contact tracing process, once we have the information about what buildings the person who tested positive, what buildings they were in, SSC is notified immediately, and SSC will go in and do a deep cleaning of those rooms where those, as well as the building. So that will happen as soon as through the contact tracing process. There's a trigger that goes, an email that immediately goes to SSC that says these rooms, these spaces, this building needs a deep cleaning.
There was a question about where students can find their instructional method. So where do they find out if their class is still face-to-face, blended, or online?
I can answer that. If the student goes into their SAIL account and looks at student detailed schedule, the instructional method will be listed there. We also, the registrar's office also created a FAQ page and a table that gives the full definition and description of what the instructional method will be. And we link that off of the searchable schedule, the schedule that's open to the public. There's actually a link. It takes you to the definitions. But if the students are specifically wanting to look at their classes when they're in SAIL, it is called Student Detailed Schedule, and it will say instructional method.
Clarenda, back to that cleaning question real quickly. This was related to that. If people want extra cleaning supplies, if they're faculty or students who'd want extra cleaning supplies, is there a way for them to get those things?
I may have seen an email or something at some point, or maybe it was Brian Shelton had indicated that sort of in the music area, they would need additional cleaning supplies. I would say, please let whatever you consider your upline supervisor, and in Brian's case, he should communicate clearly to the dean, and we will work, Mark and I would work together to make sure that those additional supplies are available in those locations.
Yeah, because that's some of the concern we're getting, or what we might consider more of our special classrooms, like the performance spaces and computer labs and things like that. Also, some discussion around Thanksgiving and our decision made about Thanksgiving. That's for you, Clarenda. So, the president's out in the audience if you want to bring her in.
The president's in the room if I want to bring her in. I wouldn't do that. So there were a couple of things, right? We were, we're one of, in higher ed, we learn from others, right? So we were monitoring what other universities were doing in terms of making decisions about how to have as safe a learning environment as possible. And so one of the ideas that came out, right, of that was, because people travel a lot, right? People travel out and people travel in at Thanksgiving, then an opportunity might exist, right, by ending in-person classes before Thanksgiving would give people freedom to do that if they wanted to do so, right? I understand that Thanksgiving is a very important family holiday, and so we didn't want to ask people not to travel during Thanksgiving. And so one way to deal with that was to say, where allowable, right? Because some programs may still have in-person final presentations or final exams. But that's one reason why the decision was made, but it's also a recognition that we needed to be flexible, right? And all of this is about flexibility. So, I don't know, Missy, you were in on that conversation. Anything you would add that I'm missing because it happened a couple of months ago?
And really, it was brought up in the scheduling task force. There's members of the task force who have family members that are going to other colleges. And then I had read, and I have colleagues at College Station, and I had read that they were moving up. They were going to start on the 19th, and we looked at it and we discussed it, and it was pretty much that. We decided that we would start a little bit earlier. We would end before Thanksgiving, and then when we come back, and the option for either having the in-person or online finals. Would be done. So no, you covered it.
some people are asking about the syllabus statement that was shared in the PowerPoint, and if that's been made available, through Debbie Linares' office, or will be coming from the dean's office.
The sample text is on the Academic Affairs website under COVID-19 Amendment to Syllabus. There's information in there that could be used regarding face coverings that lays out the process, how a student could be asked to leave. If not, UPD will be called. And then there's also information in there in the longer version than what was the snippet on the presentation here.
And is all that information required to be on the syllabus?
No, it is not a requirement. It is a suggestion. It's not a requirement. Some faculty members were asking, what can I say about attendance? What can I say about recordings? And so what is out there is recommended language so that faculty don't have to create something on their own. It's easy enough to just grab that and go.
I think you've already answered this, but I'll ask it again because it's coming up a lot. And that's, at this point, can faculty change their delivery option for the fall?
No. So we have communicated to students that the schedule is final, right? They have made plans based on the schedule that currently exists. If we have to make a change in operations, that would be the time that course modalities would shift. At this time, the schedule is fixed.
Now, there has been some rumor on campus that even though people have their courses listed as blended or hybrid, they're communicating to their students that they are online. The classes are online. Missy, do you want to address that at all?
Other than to say you cannot do that, I don't, right? You cannot do that. If we had a process, right, where we work through which classes were going to be offered in what format. There was the scheduling task force met for 6 weeks or more to make that determination. What is published is what's expected. And just as I mentioned before, we're not all, everybody can't work remotely, right? And so your position may require you to engage in in-person interaction. And if that's the case, that is the expectation.
Going along, sorry.
Sometimes we have to ask the hard questions.
I was going to say, going along with the in-person, can faculty and staff be held liable if a student gets sick and says, well, you made me come to class?
I think so, because we don't know where anyone would have contracted COVID. We cannot be held liable for that, right? So we don't know if they were infected on campus or if they were infected somewhere else. So the simple answer is no, we cannot be held liable. The faculty cannot be held liable if a student has COVID, contracts COVID. We also have immunity as a state institution, I'm told.
For office hours, when it was expressed that they could be held by phone or WebEx, do faculty physically have to be in their office
Are we back?
Yeah, we're back now.
Okay. I'm not sure where we left off.
I think Deshauna was asking about property office hours and if they need to be conducted within that space. Is that what you're asking, Deshauna?
For faculty who are going to host office hours, do they have the opportunity to do that from their home, or do they have to be in their office on campus to hold virtual office hours?
So that is something to be discussed with one's department chair and dean. I don't make that decision. So, and we don't want each dean to take time to answer that question now, so I would suggest you reach out.
If a faculty member becomes ill, what's the plan for that coverage?
So the plan is that they would contact their department chair, just like any other, right? Just like any other semester, right? If the faculty member becomes ill, they contact their supervisor, and there's a process worked out for covering those courses. I mean, it's the same process.
When will the request for AWL be finalized? When will people start hearing the answers or the approvals for their AWL?
Those are being processed as they come in. I mean, and they go directly from, I do believe, the dean's office to the Office of Employee Relations to Sam Ramirez, and he is the one that conducts those investigations or around the workplace modifications.
One of the questions that came in was about parents who have school-age children. So what is the plan? What is the guidelines? What are they supposed to do?
And
Right.
along with that question, there is some question about why we aren't doing the same thing that CCISD is with going remote.
So I can offer, well, now see, you've confused me, right? I'm like, which one do I answer first? So there are a couple things. One is that Nueces County or whatever the governing entities are locally made the decision that the CCISD, the P through 12, what I call P through 12, K through 12, would not be in session until September 7th, right? They made that decision. A lot of the guidance that is coming out is about K through 12. It is not about universities. Universities are structured and built, right, physically built very differently from most K through 12 schools. And so we are allowed to do things differently because we are different both, I'll just say structurally. In terms of parents with school-age children, what I would say again is that you work with your supervisor, right? But again, I will say that sometimes we are in jobs, we are in positions where we need to be present, perhaps on a particular day, or to do be present on campus, or to do a particular responsibility. And if that is the case, then there may be, and I think Deborah Cortinez out of HR has indicated that people may be able to take vacation time depending on your situation, but it's not a given. So I would say work with your supervisor and contact HR.
Can you talk a little bit about the process or understanding for the online learning, synchronous and asynchronous? Is there any guidance on how faculty should approach that delivery?
So my understanding is that every college, every department, I do believe, sort of has what I would consider a pedagogy expert when it comes to online learning. This is my understanding when talking with Michelle Singh. So I would suggest you reach out to those experts in your area, and in addition to ODEL, to sort of get specific assistance on how to engage in synchronous and asynchronous instruction. And so I see that we are at 1:17, and I wanted to make sure that if anybody else on the panel had things that they wanted to address, I mean, whether you're seeing repeated things in the chat or there are things that you just want to mention from your own perspective or from your own location, discipline, college unit, that you can do that. I'll start, so you know how I do this, right? So of course, you know, Bunny, you get to go first. So, and if you want to pass, you can just say pass.
I think this was very informative, and I believe my faculty will have some questions, and just want them to know they can come to me for clarifications. And we talked with the staff this morning about their coming back about 66% of the time, and I will be talking to the faculty more about that. So I appreciate their coming, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here. Thank you.
Kate?
I think I addressed the biggest outstanding question that I wanted to address, and we will, like Bunny said, there will be a lot of questions. We will continue to meet as a team and figure this out.
David?
Yes, thank you. Again, I think this was very, very helpful. We do have a College of Education Human Development staff meeting in the morning. So staff members, if you have additional questions, you can certainly bring them to that meeting as well. And I encourage faculty, certainly in this college, to work with your department chairs, communicate with them and with me for any other problems or questions specifically that you have, and we will do our best to address them. Thank you.
Frank?
Unmute here. So one of the things that I just wanted to emphasize is that there were questions in terms of decision making, and that I just wanted to point out that President's Cabinet is meeting with the COVID-19 task force that's been assisting the city and county with their decision making. And I think that just shows you how serious the administration here is taking all of this. And I certainly think that task force has done a great job in terms of informing the community. What we're up against is that at some point we do have to open. You know, the community needs a university. The coronavirus is not going to go away. It's going to be with us for another year at least, maybe two. Maybe it may be here forever. But we have to figure out a safe way in which we can start our operations back. And with that informed advice coming into the campus and the actions that I've seen coming out lately, I'm pretty positive. I mean, we're going to have some hiccups. We're going to have things that we're going to probably backstep on because we say, oh, well, you know, there's more information. It's a fluid situation, and we all have to be able to roll with it scientifically. Anyway, thank you for allowing me to participate.
John?
Yeah, also thank you for letting me be here, and thank you for providing answers that are very important to our faculty and students. And if any College of Business faculty have remaining questions, if you'll email those to me, we'll see if we can get answers, and appreciate everything everyone is doing to serve our students. Thanks.
Karen?
I just think this was a really good opportunity to see the questions and have this conversation. I think we would need a whole week to answer all the questions as inductively as we could, but I think it is a good springboard for faculty and staff within each of our units to reach out and ask questions, keep communication open. We're just going to have to be really open and fluid and realize that this is a novel situation. And change is now one of our best friends this summer and will be throughout the fall. So thank you for opening this up, and let's keep the dialogue going.
Mark.
One of the things that liberal arts has done, when people are talking about plexiglass screens, is we bought quite a few of these, plastic yellow chains with little magnetic holders. And most of the admins have those on their door, so it keeps people out of the door. I mean, we have people talking about, can I cut my door in half and make a Dutch door? This is way cheaper than doing that. And what it does is it always maintains 6 feet. So faculty can certainly do something like this as well, where it, in some ways people cannot just come into your office. You can have your door open. And then if you want somebody to come in, obviously it's easily done. So I think that's another solution that we've been working on. That's all. Thanks.
Missy?
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody just for the patience and working with the registrar's office and all the work that Christy Roberts and the scheduling team have done. I think that they have worked tirelessly working with the departments, trying to figure out the best classroom fit. We are available to answer more questions. Of course, more communication will be coming from us soon about the classroom diagrams. And just so, I want to reiterate what everyone else is, we're all on the same page. We're here to make sure that we're promoting the healthiest, safest way for us to get back to our campus community. Thank you.
Rita.
Hello, thank you for having me here. I just wanted to say to my University College faculty that I am looking forward to meeting with you soon to address all of your questions and help get some answers. I know we will get through this together. It's going to be probably the most challenging semester we've ever had, and we've had some challenging ones. But I know, I trust that we will do what's in the best interest of our students.
Ahmed.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for giving us the opportunity here to address any concerns or questions regarding research. If you do have questions related to research, please email them to me or check our website. We have the frequently asked questions and some addresses where you can send your questions to. So we'll be happy to answer your concerns. Thank you so much.
Before I turn it over to Amy, Jerome, Deshauna, I want to make a point of clarification. Your alternative work location forms go to your immediate supervisor. If the justification for the alternative work location request is an ADA accommodation or a health risk accommodation, that's the process that goes through employee relations. That's when it goes to Sam Ramirez. But if you're just seeking an alternative work location arrangement, that's handled by your supervisor. And so your supervisor should be getting those back to you. All right, Amy.
I just want to thank the 300 plus people, nearly 400, I think at one time, folks who attended today. And it's, our full-time faculty, our adjunct faculty, we had staff, we had C staff, we had people all over campus. So thank you for being here and for your commitment to our students. I also, I want to thank Clarenda. The leadership in a time like this is really difficult, and I've watched her balance all this, and I know it's hard, and I know we can see everything you're putting in the Q&A and the chat. We know there are people unhappy, and we wish we could change that, and we're trying our best to focus on now and in the future, and to take care of everybody. So we'll continue to do that. The Q&A is a little glitchy when it has that much activity in it. And so we couldn't get to everything. We couldn't even see everything. So if you have some questions hanging out there, please don't, keep them to yourself. Please reach out to your immediate supervisor, whoever that might be, and see if they can get an answer for you. If they can't, they'll move it. They'll make sure that they get an answer for you. So please do that. Also, anyone, anything that is under my office, the international students, student athletes, catalog and curriculum, the Center for Faculty Excellence, any of those things, feel free to email me about. And I do want to just recognize the CFE and ODEL for all that they've done over the summer, and CFE, especially in the last few weeks, helping to get everybody ready to go back to classroom. And for the faculty who've participated in those things, especially for the faculty who led those initiatives, just thank you so much for just your leadership and your positivity and your ideas that you're sharing with our campus community.
Thank you. Jarrell?
I echo the sentiments of a lot of folks on here, and thanks to Provost Phillips and also Deshauna, who did some of the back end work and making sure that this was functional. We continue to strive. This is like my third forum that I've kind of been a part of, and the good thing is, information is getting a lot tighter, and I think we're providing a lot of clarity. So we continue to work on it together. And while I'm temporarily overseeing academic advising, we have all academic advisors meeting tomorrow. If you have questions or anything, feel free to send them to me ahead of time. And then also we'll have some time to discuss tomorrow. So thank you all.
Deshauna?
I just want to say thank you to everyone who has been joining in on the forums. It's not easy to communicate through emails all the time because there are situational things. And so for those people who are interested, who have a desire to know more, know what level we're at, what step we're at, I just thank the people that are taking time to continue to join the forums. If anyone has actually went through any of the guides or the COVID-19 website, it can be overwhelming. There's a lot of information. And so I did create a web page that will be centralized where I'm pulling out as much information related to academic affairs, how to respond to questions, things that might be provided at other A&M system schools that are applicable to our campus as guides and resources. So use that web page. I will update it based on this meeting. I need to go find additional information to keep people updated. So that is my main goal, is to try to provide as much transparency as possible on the academic affairs web page for academic affairs and for the rest of the campus and community. We're all trying to balance our personal lives, our work lives, and even being a student, right? For some of us, it is a lot. There's no answer in one designated area. And so this centralized web page for me is a place where I hope you get a start so that you're not the one having to spend the time and energy to go navigate these other websites. So thank you for your patience. And if you do have questions, you can email them to the academic affairs email. You can email them to me. If it's something I'm able to find readily available online, I can send you the links for those types of things or direct you to our webpage. But we are all in this together on this campus, in this community, and across the nation and the world. And I have not seen one campus yet that has come up with the answer. So I just feel like we need to do this together. And that is what makes us Islanders, because we need to do this together. So I'm excited to help students. And I just hope that all of you understand how difficult this entire process has truly been, because there's no one answer.
So, Deshauna, I just sent you an email because if possible, I would like to give the president the last word. So if you can unmute her, that would be great. And let me just, before I turn it over to the president, let me just say, one of the things we often say, we're on an island, but we're not on the island alone. And so I do appreciate all the effort that you have exhibited, you've demonstrated to make this work. I cannot add to what's already been said. Just know that you are appreciated, that we can't do this without you. It takes all of us. We are here to ensure that, you know, our students have a good experience and they receive a high quality education. And we are better together. That's the simple. We are better together with our oars in the water, going in the same direction. So thank you for doing thank you for doing your part to make this work. And so with that, President Miller.
I'm not sure she's still on.
Yes, she's on.
Oh, okay, okay.
She's muted.
Hey, Clarenda.
I'm on the.
I know President Miller sent me in here. I'm in your meeting too. You know who I am, don't you?
Not with. So is this not work? Oh, there she is. Okay.
She's in a meeting, right? I know, I'm in the same meeting.
Did Kelly come on? Something's wrong with her sound. I'm sorry. Can you just check one time before? I can see her. Yeah. Is she home? All right. Well, I didn't get a response. I don't know what's wrong with the technology. Like I said, maybe it's tired. Maybe we've worn out the technology. So maybe you can throw us a shaka or something, President Miller. All right. Thank you. Thank you everyone for your time. Bye-bye.
All right.